The once small fishing village of Yokohama has now become a major trading hub after reopening trade with the West. As a merchant, you are trying to manage the new business opportunities as best you can and hope to find ultimate success in this new edition of Yokohama, which was designed by Hisashi Hayashi and published by Synopsis Games, who sponsored this video. Hey everyone, I'm Mike Murphy, the Brother Smurf, and I'm here with Board Game Geek. Well, the president is ready to get on the move, so let's learn how to play Yokohama. In Yokohama, players will be placing assistants in building shops and trading houses while your president moves to different locations to take actions based on their power. It will be important to have your assistants placed strategically throughout the board, which will create routes for your president to move through as you collect resources, gain technologies, and build up Yokohama into a powerful city. Before we start taking turns, we need to learn how to set up Yokohama. To begin, gather the area boards that you will need based on your player count. There is a guide in the rulebook to tell you exactly which boards you will need. We will set up for a game as if we were playing with 3 players, so we will not need Laboratory B, 1 Copper Mine, 1 Silk Mill, and 1 Tea Plantation. We will also not use the accompanying Laboratory B management board. These can be returned to the box. Once you have the area boards you need, give them a shuffle and then you will set them up in a pyramid, revealing 1 tile at a time. There is also a guide for how to build your pyramid in the rulebook. Be sure to leave a little space between each area board. Once all area boards are placed, you will find the building tiles, shuffle them, and then place one below each area board. However, no building tile will be placed below the canal, as the buildings are never built there. Place the management boards for the laboratory, ports, church, and customs near their corresponding area boards. So Laboratory A's management board can be placed here as it's closest to its area board. Next, shuffle all the 5 power bonus tokens and place one face up on the marked space of each area board. Any leftover tiles can be returned to the box. Make room for money, trade good tokens, imported good tokens, foreign agent tokens, and the station token so all players can reach them. Now we will prepare the cards and achievement tiles. The achievement tiles are grouped into A, B, and C decks. Shuffle each deck separately and choose one achievement from each deck randomly and reveal them. These are now the achievements for this game, and all other tiles can be returned to the box. Locate the technology cards and give them a shuffle, and then place it near the laboratory management board. Place technology cards face up, filling each slot on the laboratory board. Next, find and shuffle the order cards. Depending on your player count, you may return some cards to the box. In the case of a 3-player game, we will return 5 cards. Now locate the port management boards and fill them with face-up order cards. Each player will now draw 2 order cards from the deck and choose one to keep for themselves. Any discarded orders go back to the box. Now it's time to set up your player area. First player goes to the person who most recently visited a port. That player takes the first player marker. Each player should grab a warehouse board in their player color along with all pieces matching that player color. You will locate your president and keep them off to the side of your board, which is known as your hand. Next, locate all your assistants. Place 1 assistant in each of the 3 0 spaces at the top of the warehouse board. This is where you'll track your score. Now place an assistant in each of the 12 spaces here. The final 8 assistants will go to your hand. Now fill each available spot with a shop, leaving 2 in hand, and all 4 trading houses will go to your warehouse. Next, take 1 copper, 1 silk, 1 tea, and 1 fish into your hand, along with 3 yen if you are the first player, with each other player taking 4 yen to start the game. You are now ready to play. Yokohama is played in turns until one of the endgame triggers has occurred. Once this happens, the current round will be finished and then each player will take 1 more turn. A turn is broken down into 3 phases. The first and third phase are additional actions, which we'll talk about in a moment, but each turn comes down to the main action phase, which you will always carry out. This phase will consist of you placing out assistants onto the various area boards, picking up or moving your president, and on most turns you will take an action of the area you land in, and the amount of power you have in that area will determine how strong that action is. The first step of the main action here is a placement step. Here you have 2 options. You can place up to 3 assistants from your hand onto 3 different areas, or you can place 2 assistants into the same area. You must choose one of these 2 options. Placing assistants is free unless you are placing the assistant in an area that has 1 or more of your opponent's presidents. For each opposing president present in the location where you place an assistant, you must pay that player 1 yen. You do not pay anything for placing an assistant where your president is located. Assistants may also never be placed in the canal. When playing the game, be sure to keep it very clear which assistants, shops, and trading houses are in your hand, as these are the only pieces you can use on a turn. Items in your warehouse must be unlocked and brought to your hand before being played out onto the area boards. After your assistants have been played out onto the board, it's time to move. In the movement step, you can move your president to a new area board. To move, your president can move to an area that is adjacent to their location, so long as there's at least one of your assistants present in this new location. You may move to multiple locations as long as you follow this rule. If you move to or through a location with an opposing president, that player must be paid 1 yen or you cannot enter that space. Assistants can never be placed on the canal, however, a president can move through it to another location so long as they pay 1 yen to the supply. A president cannot end their movement on the canal, however. The president also cannot circle back around to where they began on their turn. They must end up in a new location. If your president cannot reach a new location on a turn, or if you want to make a change, you can instead return your president to your hand during this step. Doing so will forfeit any remaining steps on your main action phase, and on your next turn, when you go to your movement step, you will place your president in any area as long as at least one of your assistants and no opposing presidents are present in that area. If your president is on an area board, you will now take the action of that area. First, you must determine the power of your action. To do this, look at that location and gain 1 power for your president, any assistants present, any shops you built, or a trading house at that location, and you will total them to get your total power up to a maximum of 5. This is to say that every piece of your color in that area will provide 1 power to your total. So for example, if I went to the T area board and I had 2 assistants, my president, and a shop, I would have 4 power. I would then consult the area board to see what my benefit is for having 4 power. In this case, I would collect 4 T tokens. There are a couple of optional steps to the main action phase. If you took an action at a power level of 5, check to see if the 5 power token is still present at this location. If it is, collect it and resolve its effect. You can then place that token face down in front of you. They have a variety of effects, including gaining some money or trading goods, points, and more. If you take an action at a power level of 4 or higher, you also have the option to build if you wish. The spaces on the area board show reminders of this above the 4th and 5th spaces as they show an outline of a shop. To construct, you will take a shop or trading house from your hand and place it onto an empty space of that area's building tile. Note that you can only have at most 1 of your shops in any one area, so you may only construct a shop if you haven't already placed one here. Be sure to immediately carry out any rewards shown on the space where you place your shop. Each area has a space for all players to build a shop and exactly 1 space for a trading house. If this space has not been filled and you have a trading house in your hand, you can place it in this area. Trading houses add to your power and also come with an added benefit. When any opponents use an area that contains 1 of your trading houses, you collect 1 yen from the bank. You do not gain this bonus if you are using the area with your trading house, however. The last step of your main action is the recovery step. Here you will return all the assistants to your hand from the area in which you carried out your main action. These assistants will be available to place on future turns. Prior to and after your main action, you can perform additional action phases. Here you can do a few different things. There are 3 achievements available in the game. If you've met the requirement for 1 or more achievements, you can claim them. Let's say, for example, this achievement is in play. To claim it, you must have 7 or more fish in your supply. You just need to possess those trade goods. You don't have to actually spend them. To claim this achievement, you will take an assistant from your hand and place it in the top spot if you were the first to complete an achievement. You will instantly score the points shown. All other players can claim this achievement still, but they will simply score fewer points. The assistants used to claim achievements remain on the tile for the rest of the game. You begin the game with 1 order card, and as an additional action, you can complete any number of orders you have by paying the required trade goods shown on that order and gain the indicated reward. In the top right of all orders will be a country icon. When completing an order, check to see if you have 2 of the same country icon now. If you do, collect the associated foreign agent if any remain in the supply. Country icons can be found on order and technology cards. If you have an unused foreign agent in your supply, once per turn you may use one as an additional action. To use a foreign agent, first turn that token face down. You will then choose one area to activate. You must choose an area that has at least one of your assistants present and it cannot contain your president. If you choose an area that has any opposing presidents, you do not need to pay them for this action. You'll now carry out the action step, 5 power bonus and construction steps as if you were taking a standard main action. You will also perform the recovery step where you reclaim the assistants present at that location and return them to your hand. Note that you can only use a foreign agent once per turn. Alright, we've talked about how a turn plays out, so now let's do a deep dive on each of the action areas and why you may want to stop off there. There are several locations dedicated to helping you gain trade goods. The copper mine, fishing, silk mill, and tea will all give you the indicated trade goods, although note that not all locations will give the same amount or any resources based on the power of your action. The bank works similarly, however, it will give you yen based on your action's power. Once you have some resources, you may wish to visit Chinatown. Here you can do exchanges and the amount of exchanges is based on your power. You can exchange goods for yen or vice versa. You can also spend 4 yen to purchase an imported good. The table on the area board shows the exchange rates for yen to trade goods. The church allows players a chance to make use of one of the area management boards. Here you will first determine your power, which will give you a matching amount of faith. You can then turn in different resources, including an imported good and 2 yen, and for each different item you turn in, you will produce an additional faith. Once you get your final number of faith, you'll be able to place one of your assistants on the church management board. You can place your assistant on any empty space equal to or lower than the faith you generated. You will immediately score points shown at the bottom of that space where your assistant lands. Each of these spaces also give the reward of being able to move 1, 2, or 3 assistants based on where you placed. When moving assistants, you can either move an assistant from your hand onto an area board, or you can move an assistant from one area to a new area. You do not have to pay any opposing president costs when gaining this reward. The assistant placed on the church management board remains there for the rest of the game, and that can possibly trigger the end of the game. The customs area allows you to spend imported goods based on your power. So for example, if I had a power of 3 and I had 2 imported goods in my supply, I could spend those 2 imported goods and place an assistant onto any empty space on the board that shows 2 or fewer imported goods. You will immediately gain the reward shown beneath your assistant, and again, this assistant will remain here for the rest of the game. For both the church and customs, when placing an assistant, you can choose either an assistant from your hand or one from the church or customs area respectively. If you find yourself running short on assistants, shops, or trading houses, you can go to the employment agency. You'll be able to remove pieces from your warehouse, and the more power you have, the more pieces you can bring into your hand. Assistants are free to remove from your warehouse. On your warehouse, you'll see that each shop you bring over costs 2 yen, and trading houses get progressively more expensive as you bring each one out of the warehouse. The laboratory is where you can go to gain powerful technology cards. The power of your action will give you production value in which you purchase the cards. You can also spend 2 yen or an imported good to generate additional production value, and you can do this as many times as you wish. Each technology will have a production value cost in the top left, and there may be additional production value costs based on where the card is on the management board. When you purchase a technology card, place it in front of you. You can have any number of technology cards, however, you can never possess 2 with the same title. These cards will give you rewards when you take certain types of actions and allow you new opportunities on your turns. Make sure to check the country icons when you collect technology cards, and again, if you gain a second of a certain country, collect the associated foreign agent token if one such agent still remains in the supply. Once you collect your 4th technology or more, you will always have an additional cost of 2 yen or an imported good on top of any other cost to take the card. At the end of the action, slide all technology cards to the left and fill in the blank spaces with a new card from the deck. If the deck runs empty, leave the spaces blank. The final space is the port. Here is where you can gain new order cards to complete. You'll be able to take 1 order card for free or 2 orders by paying 2 yen or an imported good. When taking orders, the power of your action will determine which orders you can select. The lower power only allows you to take either one of the first 2 orders. However, if you take a stronger action getting you to orange or red, you'll have a greater selection to choose from. The 5 power space also rewards 3 points instantly. You can at most hold 3 incomplete order cards in your hand, and you cannot discard them for any reason. The only way to free up space is to complete orders by paying the indicated trade goods. After taking order cards, refill the supply by first sliding cards to the left and fill in with more cards from the deck. If the deck runs empty, leave the spaces blank. This is an endgame trigger. The endgame can be triggered by many different things. In each case, when the endgame is triggered, complete the current round and then play one more round with each player getting a final turn. Then proceed to endgame scoring. There are several possible endgame triggers. If any player builds all 4 of their trading houses, the game will end. Similarly, if a player builds all 8 of their shops, the game will end. As we mentioned previously, if the deck of order cards runs dry, the game will end. On the church and customs management boards, the game end can be triggered once 5 or 6 assistants are placed on that board, no matter the color. Note that if playing a 2-player game, neutral assistants will be placed onto the management boards and count toward triggering the endgame. After all players have completed their final turns, it's time for endgame scoring. Here, players will see if they've achieved any bonuses. The church and customs board give bonus points for any player with the most assistants placed on that board. At the church, the player with the most will gain 6 points, and the second most will gain 3 points. Ties are broken up in favor of the player with the assistant placed furthest to the right. The customs board works in the same way, except for it awards 8 and 4 points for the first and second place respectively, with ties being broken in the same way as the church. Now players will gain points for their technology bonus. To determine this, look at all of the technology cards you purchased and add up the combined production values of all cards. The player with the highest value gains 10 points, and second place receives 5 points. Ties are broken in favor of the player closest to the starting player's left. Next, you'll check for country bonuses. Here, you'll score sets of different country icons across your technology and completed order cards. Icons can only be used for 1 set each, so for example, if I had this display here, I would score a full 12 points for a complete set of all 5 countries, and then 4 points for having 3 countries in a second set, and 0 points for my last country icon. Finally, you can score points for remaining tokens in your supply. Each unused foreign agent is worth 1 point, as well as each leftover imported goods token. Every 2 yen is a point, and every 3 leftover trade goods is worth a point. And at the end of that, the player with the highest score wins. And that is how you play Yokohama. It's all about building up your actions to be as powerful as possible, but you must also think about the areas and how you're going to move your president around the various boards. Planning an efficient route of actions may be your key to victory. And if you'd like to learn more about Yokohama, be sure to check out its page at BoardGameGeek.com. And until next time, I'm Mike Murphy, and that is how you play Yokohama. Have a great day.